Good morning, Nat. It's another awesome day. I hope you've been good. What if we lived in a world with no traffic or traffic accidents? What if our cars were supercomputers on wheels in which we could comfortably sleep, work, watch movies, and meet other people? What if cars helped to pay for themselves and help police solve crimes? Now, before I nerd out over all the promises of smart cars, let me just admit, we clearly have a long way to go. Uber recently pulled its autonomous cars from the streets after one of them ended up on its side. Meanwhile, someone hilariously showed that you can bait and trap a smart car like a Pokemon using makeshift road markings made from salt. Other people are pointing out that if you could hack into the central command system for tens of millions of cars worldwide, you could do some serious damage. A carpocalypse, if you will. Carpocalypse? Carmageddon? Then there's a bunch of ethical considerations that we have to go through. For example, what if in responding to road conditions up ahead, your car has to decide whether it's going to crash into a car with one person in it or a car with 5 people in it? And if that seems like an obvious answer, let me up the ante. What if the only way to avoid crashing into a car with 5 people in it is to drive you off the road, killing only you in the process? Or what if your car is able to intercept 2 cars that are on a collision course? Should your car be able to pull you into harm's way in order to save a greater number of people? And perhaps scarier, users would need to sign license agreements consenting to those terms and conditions. Now there's a license agreement that might actually read to the end without just blindly clicking accept. So yes, we need more testing, better cybersecurity, and robust regulations to keep us safe. And we need algorithm transparency watchdogs that can take all that complexity and explain it to consumers so that we know what it is that we're actually signing up to. But, when we get this right, it's going to change everything. This isn't a question of if, because the problems that these technologies solve are just far too large. If someone pitched cars today, they would never pass modern safety standards. Yeah, I made this machine that will kill tens of thousands of people per year. And pray tell, why did you make this machine?
Because I wanted to go faster. I'm not fast enough.
Imagine if a plane full of passengers plummeted out of the sky in the US every day. Well, that's roughly how many passengers are dying on American roads daily. Over the last few decades, cars have killed more people than wars. This death toll may seem as weird and as immoral to future generations as, say, something like the Crusades or slavery seems to us. And all these accidents, they cost money. So transportation companies are going to be the first ones to adopt this technology. Think unions will stop the cars? Well, history is littered with the corpses of unions that have fought technology and lost. Cost efficiency wins every time. Autonomous cars have already driven hundreds of thousands of miles and already arguably make better drivers than people in many situations. And they're just getting better. They don't drink, they don't get sleepy, and they don't check their YouTube accounts to see if people are leaving them comments. Aww. Thanks, Mom. But smart cars can also do things that people can't do. Things like the safe distance that cars have to keep between them, keeping in your lane, the speed limit, rules for overtaking, and even stopping at traffic lights are all rules that were designed for advanced monkeys that try as they might just cannot make decisions in milliseconds. And you can see how limited our decision-making is by just looking at a highway, which in most cases is just empty space that we need to keep us safe. Now, self-driving cars, on the other hand, will be able to follow each other bumper to bumper with almost no space between them, because they'll be able to instantly communicate with each other to safely brake, accelerate, maneuver, or make way for ambulances and police cars in perfect concert. They'll be able to use sensors stationed at intersections as well as in other networked cars in order to determine whether they can safely zoom through red lights. And they'll be able to do all of this at record speeds that make said advanced monkeys look like your grandmother on Xanax. What all of this means is less accidents, less traffic, a faster commute, a better throughput per road, and the liberation of hundreds of hours that the average person spends driving per year. What will we do with all these hours? Well, many of us are going to spend them crawling the internet looking for lolcats, but for some of us, that could be sleep or work time. Because remember that if you don't have a driver, you can reconfigure the whole interior of the car to be a lot more comfortable. Perhaps the front and back seats can face each other to form a mobile lounge. Throw a screen in there and you have a mobile entertainment center. Install a bed to turn your car into a nap pod, or a desk to make it into an office. Maybe even machines that let you work out while you travel. Side note, we will have hit peak irony when you can look out of the window to see some guy watching Glee while pedaling on a stationary bike installed in a car moving at 200 miles an hour. And even that's just the tip of the iceberg. That juicy, juicy iceberg. Around the corner from my office, a company called Mobileye, which helps autonomous cars see and understand the world through cameras, was sold to Intel for $15 billion. That just gives you a taste for how big the tech giants think this thing could be. And investors, including the venture fund where I work, are pouring millions of dollars into this space because we want to find the next Mobileye. Now, as I mentioned, Mobileye uses cameras in order to figure out what's going on the road. And the footage from those cameras could help police with investigations. And even that is just scratching the surface. We could program autonomous vehicles to work for us when we don't need them. Say, in the middle of the night. Autonomous tractors could plow the field, while autonomous vans and trucks move any non-time sensitive cargo in order to reduce the load on the roads during daytime. Your household variety car could be sent to pick up groceries, drop off dry cleaning, and while it's on its way back, why not stop at the garage for a quick checkup and an oil change? We may well be heading into a world where you wake up with most of your errands done, in which almost everything comes to you, and going out becomes something that we do almost exclusively for pleasure. Not because we have to. And what if after dropping you off at home or at work, your car became an autonomous taxi that made some extra cash for you while you work or while you sleep? In fact, I believe that rather than owning cars, most of us will just subscribe to car services. Most of us choose to own cars because we want to have our car available for us when we want it, on demand. But with full autonomy, every car can be available on demand. And before reaching you, that car will have dropped someone else off or delivered a package right around the corner. All this makes seeing an empty car a very rare thing. So if cars aren't lying idle, they're also probably parking a lot less. How many parking lots and street-level parkings can we get rid of? If you don't own a car, does everybody start repurposing their garages and their driveways? If roads are more efficient, can we make them narrower, add bike lanes, replace them with pedestrian-only areas, or something else entirely? And perhaps not owning a car will give us the flexibility to hail a customized car that fits our needs on a trip-by-trip basis. Need to get somewhere cheap? Rent a car that will pick up other passengers along the way to bring down the average price. Need to get somewhere fast? Pay a premium on a car with an extra powerful engine that can wirelessly pay other cars to move out of the way while it zooms past. And this raises all kinds of interesting new questions. Would people be willing to live further away from the city center if they can access cheap, traffic-free public transportation from anywhere? Are you more willing to drive into the city in the dark or drive a further distance if you can marathon Orange is the New Black on the way? I mean, on this level, we really need to start thinking about how these things start to change our definition of what a city is. Then consider that a driver accounts for about 70% of the cost of hailing a car today. So when you put this all together, you start to see a picture emerging of ubiquitously available and affordable transportation. And perhaps bringing the cost down makes cars a viable way to travel for kids or people with disabilities who can't get their driver's license, or people in lower income brackets. Cars will also learn and remember our needs. They'll be able to log into our calendars and figure out when it is that they have to wait for us at work. They will remember how we like the climate control, and they will collaborate with our phones in order to play our favorite music in surround sound. And we will share huge amounts of information with our cars. Looking to network? Let your car crawl your LinkedIn profile so that it can populate your commute with people who are relevant for your career. Looking to meet that special someone? Let your car interface with your dating apps so that you can carpool with other singles who meet your historical criteria. And with that image in mind, you can start to see why the tech industry envisions the future car as a supercomputer that helps you get things done while you're moving from A to B. In the same way that phones created a platform for us to make apps that cater for our every need of the digital space, we will be able to customize cars and the people that we ride with to fulfill all of the demands that we make of the physical space. I'm Steph Jansen, and this has been your Ounce of Awesome. If you're new around here and you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Be good, and I'll see you next week.